Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on the gorgeous little border rounds that you see right here. I say rounds because there's more than one on our Tunisian placemat that we've been working on the channel here over the past few weeks. Now if you're joining us new, make sure you hit the subscribe button because this is the best time to subscribe here to Crochet Designs. What happens with us is every Saturday morning we have a thing called Live Antics, and one lucky subscriber on that live gets to choose the colour combination of our next tutorial. And each one of these squares were chosen by 4 of our subscribers, and one lucky subscriber got to choose the colour combination for the join and the border rounds. So that would be our lovely Dorothy, and Dorothy chose this beautiful cream today. Simply divine, Dorothy. Fantastic choice. It does highlight each one of these squares. Now again, if you're new and haven't made these squares, I've left a link in the description box down below, or the more section down below, for each one of these squares, parts 1, 2, 3 and 4. Part 5 was the join, to show you how to do the join. And part 6 is this one here right now, where you're going to be creating your border rounds. Quick tip before you start. Tunisian crochet, or these stitches, 3 of them that is, were really rather dense, and they were smaller than this pink one right here. So to create the border round using a lace stitch like this, or a lace look if you will, I would suggest dropping a hook size down, or even a half hook size down than what you use to create these squares. So if you used a 4mm Tunisian hook to create each square, I would drop down to a 3.5mm hook. If you used a 5mm hook, I can't count. If you used a 5mm hook to create each square, I would drop down to a 4.5 for this tutorial. All right. I'm not sure. I didn't actually know. I know I didn't do it. I used the same hook size to do this tutorial. Don't use the same, drop down a hook size. So for me, I should have dropped down to a 3.5mm hook. I would suggest doing that if you use the 4. All right. The other thing I didn't mention, I may or may not have mentioned in the tutorial, a lot of this didn't add up from the border round. So what I did was I didn't skip. Let's get it close up. It's blurring up like that's better. You've got to skip 3 single crochets between each space. There were some areas on the corner that I didn't have 3, I only had 1 and 2. If that's the case, I would literally skip 5 across and don't get too close to the corner, because what I found with mine was the border started to wave a little bit, and it's because I got close to the edge and didn't allow that stretch, okay, which is why I'm asking maybe best to drop down to a 3.5. Now if your stitches add up, I've done that even here as well, look how close that is. That's like, oh my gosh, it's exactly 2 single crochets across. All right, so if you're going to do that, I would leave it and stretch it right over to 5 single crochets instead of 2, and make sure that you like literally stretch that part there rather than putting it the first stitch close to the edge like I did. All right, keep yours a little bit further away from the edge. I think I mentioned it in the tutorial as well, and I've left a little disclaimer up the top. If you've got 5 single crochets left, just chain the 2 and jump over the 5 single crochets, even if it's pulling, because this stitch is a relatively loose stitch. And if you don't do that, you're going to end up with a little bit of a wave like I have. It's not too much. It's not a really big wave, so I'm not particularly worried about it. Let me grab something and show you what it looks like with something on it. All right, so it really doesn't look that, it's not really much of a problem, okay? In the tutorial, I think I used a plate and a bowl and it was quite wavy, but I have actually washed and blocked mine. So that has straightened mine out a little bit, but you can see a little gentle wave there, okay? And that is the areas where I didn't have 3 single crochets. I had 2 or 1, and that kind of left it loose. Had I had the 3 single crochets, it would be nice and taut like that. All right, just a quick tip there to let you know. Okay, so you need your hook. You need between 25 and 30 grams of the cream, or probably 25, because I didn't calculate this part was on part 5. So for today, you would only need about 25 grams of your cream. You should still have your thread attached. I can't remember where it was attached, but you should still have it attached to your piece. If you haven't, just make a chain and slip through one of the stitches and then start your rounds. All right. You will need your scissors. You will need, I don't know, 16, I think, stitch markers, something like that. And you will need a sewing needle to weave in just one end. Unless you cut your thread, then you would need to weave in more. All right. So that's pretty much it. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to let you get started creating the border rounds for your gorgeous placemat, Tunisian placemat, colour combination chosen by the lovely Dorothy. Good luck all. Alrighty guys, so where I left you off in part 5, we were in the centre stitch of one of the corners. Alright, so we're still there. So what I want you to do is chain 4. Chain 1, 2, 3 and 4. But what you're going to do is pop your stitch marker in that third chain, just at the top of that third chain there, making sure you have one stitch, one little chain available, right? And then you are going to pop a double crochet. Now double crochet US, treble UK. So what we're going to do is put a double crochet in the same stitch, and that is yarn over your hook into that same stitch that you are in, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Chain 1, yarn over your hook, another double crochet in the same stitch, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 and 1 more set. So chain 1 and a double crochet into the same stitch, like so. All right. So what you have is that chain 3 and then a chain 1, which is chain 4, double crochet, chain 1, double, chain 1, double. Now we're going to start V-stitching across, but first we're chaining 1 and 2, yarn over our hook, skipping 1, 2, 3, and in your 4th one you're doing double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So 4th stitch across, do your double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet, all in the same stitch. And let me remove that little fluff. Okay. And then that, by the way, that is actually a V-stitch, yeah? And then you're going to chain 1 and 2 and do exactly the same all the way across. So you skip 1, 2, 3, and in your 4th, pop your hook in the stitch, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, chain 1 and another double. So you are doing your V-stitch in every 4th stitch across. So you're chaining 2, skip 1, 2, 3, V-stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, V-stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, V-stitch. All right. The reason I'm saying this, we've got builders next door making so much noise, and I might pop this on fast, so you can slow your video down if you like, but chain 1 and 2, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 1, 2, 3, and in your 4th you're doing your V-stitch of double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. All right, so I'm going to pop this on fast because those builders are making way too much noise, and I will meet you a couple of stitches before we get to the corner here, your first corner. All right, and off we go. 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, V-stitch. And your V-stitch, then you chain 1 and 2, and you skip 1, 2, 3. Now you might find your fourth one will be here, or your fourth one will be the corner. Whatever you've got here, fudge it. Go into the corner, the center stitch, and do your first V-stitch, chain 1 there, like so. Just going to remove that. I'll leave the stitch marker there for a minute. I just wanted to show you this area here, the center section, where you go 1, 2, and there is a little one in there, 3, and then your V-stitch goes there. All right. So if yours did not marry up in the corner, don't stress too much. What you need to do, however, is the amount of V-stitches you have across here, you have to have the same on the opposite side. So whatever you do, if you've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then you should have 10 on this side. Or if you've got 11, do 11 on this side. That's all you need to do. All right. So that's the first side done. And now we're going to continue. So we've done our first set here. We're chaining 1. Come on, Mary, you can do this. Chain 1. And in that space, you're doing another double crochet like so. What I want you to do is remove your stitch marker. This is kind of not necessary, but I still want you to pop your your stitch marker in that third double crochet. Because what we want to do is put 5 double crochet chain 1s in the corner. So you've got 1, 2, 3. Let's chain 1 and put a fourth one, double crochet there. Chain 1 and pop a 5th one in there like so. So what you have is double crochet, chain 1, second double crochet, chain 1, third, chain 1, fourth, chain 1, and then your 5th. So you should have 5 double crochets and then 1, 2, 3, 4 chain spaces. All right. So now you're chaining 1 and 2 and you're skipping 3. Skip 1, 2, 3 and your V-stitch in the 4th. Chain 1 and double crochet. All right. So pretty much it's exactly the same as the other side that we just did. All right, so all you're doing is chaining 1 and 2 in between each V-stitch, skip 1, 2, 3 and pop a V-stitch in your 4th stitch. Chain 1 and double. All right, super easy. 1 and 2, skip 1, 2, 3 and in your 4th V-stitch. All right, so off we go doing that all the way across. I'm going to pop this on fast, get to as close as you can to the corner there, which I believe is a little tight, but get as close as you can to the corner there and I'll meet you there in just a moment, and off we go. So here I am at the end of this side and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. So it doesn't marry up to the 4. So what I'm going to do is skip 1 and 2, pop a V-stitch into the 3rd stitch, chain 1 there. Now if you don't have that, if you have 5, just jump straight into the corner, yeah? Chain 1 and 2 and then V-stitch into that corner. Chain 1 and a second one, chain 1 and a 3rd double crochet in the corner, and then you replace that stitch mark. I'm going to get a bigger one because this is just way too small and annoying me, and you pop the stitch marker in the top stitch right there. Chain 1, do a 4th double crochet, chain 1, do the 5th double crochet. All right, So what you have now is, the sun's coming out, guys, sorry about that, is pretty much that. All right, so it's once again in this side here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, I've got 9 across there. So it means on this side, I need to make 9. Make 10 on this side, 10 on this side, 9 there, and 9 there. The reason is obviously the stitches were less on the smaller pieces than they are on the larger pieces. So we want to keep the 10 and we want to keep the 9. Or whatever you ended up with. You could have ended up with 9 here, 9 there, 8 here, 8 there. You could have ended up with 12. You could have ended up with 11. It doesn't matter, even on one side as it is on the other. And it doesn't matter if these two sides are shorter than the other two sides, as long as they're the same on both sides. The same on these sides, the same on that sides. Again, you can fudge it if it doesn't work out, but that is the beauty of this particular placemat. All right, so your job now is to do just that. V-stitch all the way across. I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do this. V-stitch all the way across, and you can, I'll actually put a timer up here in a minute, but V-stitch all the way across. Get to your corner, do your 5 double crochets with your chain ones in the middle, V-stitches across to here, making sure you are chaining 2 in between each V-stitch. So it's V-stitch, chain 2, skip 3, V-stitch in the 4th, not too far away, V-stitch, chain 2, skip 3, V-stitch in the 4th. Get to your corner, you're doing chain 2, then you get to your corner, you go double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double, chain 1. So 5 doubles and a stitch marker on your 3rd one. All right, that's just talking about what you're doing. But right now I've left a little timer from doing this corner to this corner. All right, so a little timer from there to there, and that way you can do it from there to there. All right, so there's the time I've left now for you. Head off on your own, do that section to that corner, that section to a few stitches away from that corner. Meet me back here once you're done, and we will talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here I am at the end of this round. Now I do admit to fudging a lot of the sections, okay? But you only had to fudge this one round, yeah? But make sure that both sides on this match and both sides on this match. Even if they're not the same in the round, that might be 10 across, this might be 9 across, that might be 10 across, this might be 9, whatever it is for you. Just make sure they match for you. All right. So what you want to do here, I'm at the end of the round chaining 1 and 2. We have to do, if you know here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. If you think about that as a double crochet, 4 double crochets there with your chains. But in every other corner, you've got a 5th one. So we are going to replace a 5th one in there, or place a 5th one in there. So pop your hook in, pull a loop through in the same stitch with all your work in, and do your double crochet. That's your final one. Chain 1, and then you are slip stitching to join in your first stitch with your stitch marker. Pull the loop through, remove your stitch marker like so. You'll need it in a moment. Yep. From here, you're going to slip stitch into the first space that you see. Yeah. So slip stitch into that first space like so. Chain 1, 2, 3. Pop your stitch marker here. Yep. Chain 1 more and do a double crochet all in the same space. From here, you're only chaining 1 once. This is actually your corner stitch. So remove your stitch marker and leave it there for a minute. And you're going to jump over to your next space and do your next V-stitch. All right. So you're doing your V-stitch in your next chain 1 space, chain 1 and double crochet. Now before you continue, pop your stitch marker in that chain 1 space right there. Now, in between V-stitches of the corner, you are not chaining 1. You only did that here because that's your corner of your piece, right? So don't chain 1 here. Just pop a normal V-stitch in this space here. Yeah, normal V-stitch. And now you're going to be doing your chain 2, and you're going to be placing V-stitches inside your V-stitch. So chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch. All right, so 1 and 2, skip over your chain 2 into the V-stitch with a V-stitch, chain 1 and double. All right, so you completed part of your corner, and now you're doing all the sides exactly the same as you did in your previous round with chaining 2 and then a V-stitch. But it's easier this one. No counting involved unless you want to count. I mean, you can. It's probably good for you, 1 and 2, to count to make sure you don't make any errors. Sorry about the noise, that's the stitch markers on the board. Chain 1 and the builders next door. We've got builders next door. It's not our builders, but anyway. Chain 1 and 2, skip over the chain 2 and V-stitch in the next space. All right. I don't think I need to show you this part. I am going to do it for you. I'm sorry, do it with you, I should say, not for you. We're going to do that all the way across, but I'm going to pop it on fast and silent. It's to stop the noise from the neighbours. But I do like to pop it on fast for you so that you can work in the round, all right? Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this section, and let's get a nice close-up. I need some yarn. And we're going to do the corner pretty much the same way we did our first corner. But in our first corner, we're halfway through the corner. So this is actually our very first corner. If you think about it, this can be classified as the first corner. Chain 1 and 2. Let's get a nice close-up for this part. You want to put a V-stitch in the next 2 V-stitches, then a chain space, and then a V-stitch in each one of the next 2 stitches. All right, so all you're doing is V-stitch in the first one, chain 1 and double crochet, no chaining, V-stitch in the next space, all right, now this is where your stitch marker is. So this is telling you you need to chain 1 because that's the corner. All right, remove your stitch marker for a minute and V-stitch directly into the very next space. Do your V-stitch first. Just do 1, chain 1, V-stitch, and replace that stitch marker just in that chain space that you made in between these 2 V-stitches, in the whole space, yeah? And then you are not chaining here, you're just going to V-stitch into the next V-stitch. Like that. All right. So if you were to have chained 1 in between each V-stitch, your work will start to wave, and we don't want that. All right. So we are only chaining 1 space in the center of your 2 V-stitch clusters. I hope that made sense. 1, 2, 1, 2. They don't have chain 1s. They only have the chain 1 in between their own V-stitch, yeah, but not between each set, except the center one. All right, hope that has made a little bit of sense. Don't stress too much. If you want to continue with yours later, just keep copying this section. I'll show you where to go to in a minute. But in the meantime, you are chaining 1 and 2 because you're getting out of the corner and into your first V-stitch right there. Chain 1, V. Chain 1 and 2 and V. All right, super duper easy, super duper easy. All right, so what I'm going to do, pop it on fast. I want you to get to this stitch marker right here. We're going to do one more corner together and off we go. Chain 1 and 2, V-stitch into your next V-stitch. Alrighty guys, how did you go? Yeah, how did you go? That's what your work should look like. Alright, so it's so much, I just love this pattern so much. It's one of those things, you know, a lacy pattern usually doesn't look good on a solid stitch, but this is coming out beautifully. It really is. Alright, so corner yet again, here we go. And we are first doing our chain 2 to get into the corner. So 1 and 2. And when you get to the corner, you're doing 1 V-stitch in that corner. So do your V-stitch like normal. No chaining 1. You're going to V-stitch in the next space. V-stitch into the next space. 1, whoops. And there's the 2. And then you're chaining 1 because this is now the center stitch. This is why I asked you to keep stitch markers so you can find that center stitch. We found it, we chained 1, and now we're going to jump directly into the next space right there with a V-stitch. Before you continue, grab that stitch marker, place it in the chain 1 space just before the V-stitch you just did. Now no chaining 1, just V-stitch directly into the next V-stitch of that corner. Whoops. Like so. Alright, so again, we're going to do what? Turn our work to the side, chain 1 and 2 to get out of the corner, V-stitch across. A super easy round now. Alrighty guys, so what I want you to do now is exactly the same pattern all the way across. Get to your corner, do your corner. The pattern all the way across here, get to your very start of the round. Meet me there and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. That's the time you need to go to help you get through those corners. It'll start from here and work its way all the way up to the corner for you, and then over here you can continue your pattern across. All right, so go ahead and complete that round right now. That's the time you need to go to. Meet me back here once you're done and we will talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of the round. Isn't it looking divine? We are going to be changing the pattern soon though, so keep that in mind. We are still chaining 1 and 2 to go into the corner. Now remember, we have that space right there that we need to put a V-stitch in. So pop your V-stitch in there, normal V-stitch, yeah. And there is no chaining between this V-stitch and the one we've made here. All you're doing is getting into the tight stitch like so, and slip stitching into the tight stitch. She says as she removes the stitch marker. So slip stitch into the top stitch of that chain 3 there, yeah. And in that space you are doing a slip stitch again into the space like so. And then you are chaining 1, 2 and 3 yet again. This is where the pattern is going to change. You're going to pop a double crochet in there, 1, and a second double crochet in there, 2. And in that space there, you are popping a single crochet. That's the center of your work. So single, oops, right into that space. Single is what we were doing down here, yeah? Single, which is 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, like so, yeah? And then remove that stitch marker. This isn't necessary, but I think it's good to have the stitch marker in the center stitch, just so you know what you're doing for the next round. And then in that V-stitch, you are doing 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. Don't do anything here. Go into the next V-stitch with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to be putting single crochets into these chain 2 spaces. So around the stitches with your single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and in the chain space you are doing 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. 2 singles in the 2 chain space, 1 and 2. 3 doubles in the V-stitch, 1, 2, and 3. All right, and in the 2 chain space, 2 singles. I think you're getting the picture. 3 double crochets in your V-stitch. I'm going to show you what you're doing so you know what's happening, like so. So this is how your pattern changed. Simply divine. 3 double crochets in your V-stitch, 2 singles in your chain space. 3 doubles in your V, 2 singles in a chain space. Simply divine, very easy. We're going to pop it on fast, and all you need to do is remember to do 2 singles in the 2 chain space and 3 doubles into your V-stitch. All right, do that now. Get to the next corner and I'll meet you there in a moment. I'm going to pop this on fast and off we go. Alrighty guys, here we are at the corner. Alright, so you would have done your 3 double crochets in every V-stitch and your 2 singles in between them. Yep. Alright, so whoops, I forgot my last 2 single crochets before the corner. So do those 2 single crochets. When you get to the corner, you're doing 3 double crochets in the first V-stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And there's no chaining here. Just go ahead and do another 3 double crochets into the next V-stitch right there. 1, 2, and 3. And a single crochet in that space. So single, like that. Remove the stitch marker, but replace it, just so you know where the center is. Jump straight into the very next V with your 3 double crochets. 1, oops, not a half double, nearly. 2, and 3. 3 double crochets in your next chain space. Nothing to do here at all. Just do your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And in your 2 chain spaces, what are you doing? You're 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. 3 double crochets in your V-stitch. Yeah, super easy round, repetitive, very repetitive, which is easy on your eye. You can just sit in front of the television and do this. That's how easy this round is. So simple as that. Simply divine. I'm loving, oh, we're not even out enough. There you go. I'm loving the look of it. So gorgeous. All right. Now, I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do the rest. All I want you to do is exactly that in the round. I will leave a little time up here in a moment. And all you need to do in your V-stitches is your 3 double crochets. All you need to do in your 2 chain spaces is your 2 single crochets. When you get to the corner, copy what we did in this corner. It'll be up on the screen in a moment for you to have a look at. You will start from here and work your way all the way to this section here. All right, go to that time right now, complete this round, get to a space before your stitch markers, and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, simply divine. Don't we love this look? But we are actually entering into our final round. Get excited guys, get excited. But before we do, we still need to do our final 2 single crochets in this space here. Yep. And we have a V-stitch right here that we need to place. This is the corner area. We need to place our final 3 double crochets in that V-stitch. So 1, 2, and 3, and then we are slip stitching to join in the top stitch where the stitch marker is. Pull the loop through, remove that stitch marker for one moment. All right, chain 1. In the same stitch, we're popping a single crochet. That is our first single crochet in the round. Now you've done single crochets before because they're all here and you've done them there, yeah? So you know what you're doing with your single crochets in this round. In the very next stitch, that's going to be the center of this 3 double crochets, yeah? So you do a normal single crochet. Now here we are going to do a thing called picot. Now we're going to do 2 versions. We're going to do the more advanced version for the more advanced crocheter, and then we'll do one for the new crocheter. So for the more advanced crocheter, you are chaining 1, 2, and 3. Then you are popping your hook into the top loop of that stitch and the base side loop of the stitch. Pull a loop through like so and pull it through to the loop on your hook, and then you are doing a single crochet in the same stitch. Now that is your picot for that stitch there. All right, so I want you to do that picot if you're an advanced crocheter, but if you are not, this is what I would like for you to do. All right, so you are chaining 1, 2, and 3, and then just popping a single crochet in that space, and let's classify that as your picot, and then you are doing single crochets across like the other ones. But for now, more advanced or avid crocheter, and if you're new to crochet and want to try this picot, the more professional one, by all means go ahead and do it with a chain 1, 2, and 3, slip stitch down the top of your stitch and the side base of your stitch, pull the loop through, pull it through to the loop on your hook, single crochet in the same space. Only if you are doing the advanced stitch, all right? And then what you're going to do here is single crochet in your next stitch, single in your next stitch. That's the center of your piece. You don't need to worry about that anymore. You can pop your stitch marker here, you know, maybe just to remind you that that's your center, but you don't need to worry about it anymore. Single in your first double crochet and single in your second. Once you're in that second one in this corner, you're going to do the picot again. Once more, if you are a new crocheter, just chain 1, 2, 3, and pop another single crochet in there like that. And all you have is that. But if you want to take the risk and try the more advanced stitch, by all means, let's do it. Chain 1, 2, 3, pop your hook in the top loop there, the side base loop there, pull a loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook, single in the same stitch. So what we're going to do here now is these are the only 2 picots that are going to be done in the corner. The rest of the stitches, all you're doing is single crocheting in every stitch all the way across your piece. Now that's the pattern in general until you get to your next corner. Now before you continue, what I want to show you first is I would like for you to grab 2 little stitch markers for your corners. Grab the 2 stitch markers, right. This is why I asked you to keep your stitch marker here. From this stitch marker, you're going 1 and 2 across, pop your stitch marker in that second stitch, right there. From your stitch marker on this side, you're going 1 and 2, pop your stitch marker in the second one. All right, so from here, it's the second one over and the second one forward. Guess what? You're doing that with all your corners. Now I've lost my stitch marker. It must have fallen out. Find your stitch marker, count 1 back. So that's your stitch marker stitch where it should be. Go 1 and in your second one, you're placing your stitch marker. Now, if you're anything like me and know these are your 3 double crochets, all you need to do is place your stitch marker in that second one. All right. Now you guys should have a stitch marker here and then you go 1 and 2 and that's where your, let me pop that stitch marker in. So you're counting 1 over, pop your stitch marker in the second one, count 1 forward, pop your stitch marker in the second one, go and do the same for the next corner. 1 and 2. I've split the stitch there, but don't worry about that for me. You won't have that problem. 1 and 2. So 1 off each side like that. And we've already got that there, which we're going to work on later. We've already done our picots there. So you don't have to worry about this side at all. Yeah. So what I want you to do is pretty much this. I'm going to pop this on fast for you because all I want you to do here is pop a single crochet in every stitch until you get to your very first stitch marker. All right, this is why we put the stitch markers in, because when we get to those first stitch markers, that is where I want you to do your picots. All right, so a single crochet in every stitch all the way across, and I'll meet you once we get to the first stitch marker. Alrighty guys, are you almost there? I'm almost there. Let me get you a close-up so you can have a look-see. Alright, I have 1 stitch before the stitch marker. I'm going to place my single crochet in there. And the very next stitch is the stitch marker. That is where we're doing the picot. Alright, so do your single in the stitch. Once again, if you are new, just chain 3 and pop another single crochet in that stitch. Unless you want to try this picot, which is 1, 2 and 3, hook down the top through the base side loop, pull a loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook, single in the same stitch, single in your next stitch, single in a stitch with your stitch marker, remove it. That's your center of your corner. You don't need it. It is a final round. I want to put it in there anyway to show you the look of the corner. Single in your next stitch, and when you get to your last stitch marker, you're doing a picot. So do your single crochet first, remove that stitch marker, picot, 1, 2, 3. Remember, new crocheter, just pop another single crochet there. Yeah. For the rest of us, we are all doing our picot like so. Single, and you can give it a tug if you like, you don't need to, and then that's it. Single into every stitch all the way across your piece. It's super exciting. No more picots until you get to the very next corner. All right, so guess what? Let's bring this out and have a quick look. See, that's pretty much all I want you to do. All right, so there you go, guys. Super duper easy. What you need to do now is just that. Hook went flying. Single across, get to your first stitch marker, picot. Single, 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 picot. Single across, first stitch marker, picot. Single, 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 picot. All the way across. Get to this stitch marker right here, which is the beginning, and we will talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so your job is to do just that. I will leave a little time right here where you can continue your round. Simply divine. There's the time right there. Do your round right now, and let's get excited, guys, because we are going to be finishing off our placemat. Alrighty, guys, how beautiful is it looking, yeah? So here we go. We're right at the end of the round. Very, very exciting. I think I have, how many stitches do I have left? 1. All right, so I have my 1 single crochet left here, but we have to slip stitch into this stitch marker right here. So you pop your hook in, pull a loop through, pull it through to the loop on your hook, remove your stitch marker, pull up your loop. Guess what? Check your work first. Give it a cut. You're done. How exciting is that? All right, so what you have, if you remove your stitch markers, you can't really see the picots until you remove those stitch markers, right? Once you remove all your stitch markers, you will be able to see, it might come out, it doesn't want to come out. You'll be able to see all your picots looking gorgeous, all right? So if you can't really see them, just give them a bit of a tug, yeah? And for those of you who are new to crochet and did the other version, yours will be a little bit less visible than ours, all right? These picots are just stunning. I love picots, yeah? I love them so much. Check it out. Simply divine. Now what you want to do, if you like, you can actually wash and block. My suggestion would be to wash and block, okay? But that's not a necessity. If you don't want to, by all means, don't do it. A lot of people say, I've never washed and blocked. That's fine. You don't need to. These are just suggestions, yeah? It's a little bit fray, my cotton. Hopefully I can thread this needle without it being a drama. It doesn't help when you've still got your Halloween nails on, Mary. They're going in a couple of days. Give me a few days to get organised. All right, so there's our little thread, our last one. Turn it over. Now, the idea of this last thread, a lot of people do the fancy join and everything. I don't do that. I just give it a really good tight tug, and I find a little stitch at the back. It's usually back into the same stitch or a stitch afterwards, and I don't know if you can see that. Let's get even closer. All right, so it's usually in the stitch before it or the stitch afterwards. I just pop it in the same stitch when it comes to cotton because it's going to be fairly tight, but one loop only, not the whole stitch, yeah? Just through the back of one loop, right there, like so. Yep, and just gentle tug, and down you go, down into the stitches. Ooh, it's a really tight stitch, yeah? down into the stitches. Now you should only have one thread. If you had to reattach and you forgot to save your thread on your hook like we did at the beginning of the round, then you would have another thread. Notice how I'm checking the front, making sure you can't see the needle. Yes, check your front, and just weave it right down into the base here, somewhere where you can find somewhere else to weave into. Here we go. And once you get into the base, you can go through some stitches there. Check the front. Yeah, make sure you can't see the needle. Yeah, but I think it should be all right. Cut your work, give it a gentle tug. Your piece is done. You know what? It's not enough that it's done, is it? Just move everything out the way. We would like to check it. The idea is to make sure that it looks gorgeous. Oops, straighten it all out. There's the plate, yep. And there's your little soup bowl, so you can have your soup first, or you don't want to eat a big plate of food, you just want some soup. So your little placemat will look gorgeous with a bowl. It will look great with your plate. It will look great with the whole set if you wanted to do your set. Yeah, simply divine. Now the Tunisian stitch obviously is fairly tight in there, which is why this is kind of lifting a little bit. But it does kind of need a washing and blocking because Tunisian is rather a dense way of crocheting, yeah? Whereas crochet itself comes across nice and loosely. You probably could have dropped the hook size to a 3.5, which I stated at the beginning of this tutorial anyways. All right, yours would be a lot tighter than mine, and also mine I have probably gone too close to some of the corners, and I think I mentioned it in the tutorial. If you have 5 stitches left, just chain the 2 and jump over, because this is a loose stitch and it will loosen up anyway. All right, so there you go guys, your Tunisian placemat is now complete. A very special thank you to the lovely Dorothy for her colour combination in today's tutorial. Each one of these squares a subscriber has chosen the colours for, and I'll leave their information in the description box down below. And also a link to each one of these squares if you wanted to make your squares before completing these rounds here. Plus you would need to make the join round as well. You can do that and then come back here and do this piece. All that information will be in the description box down below. All right, it will be called the Placemat playlist. So you'll get to do the whole Placemat playlist starting from part 1 all the way up to part 6, which is our gorgeous border rounds that you see here. All right, a very special thank you to the lovely Dorothy. My name is Mary and this is Wild Crochet Designs. Ciao for now.